Hey, Planeswalkers, Mythras here. Hope you're doing well and staying safe. Today, we got a top 1,000 deck, almost top 500 deck. But I've heard everything good comes in threes. So today, we also have a user-submitted deck. So very excited about that. This deck has a little bit of a story behind it as well. So we'll get to that here in a second. But before we do so, as always, I just want to say thank you. I appreciate your support. Please feel free to subscribe to the channel down over there. Additionally, if you like the video, please like it. You can like me on Facebook and follow me on Twitter and Twitch to stay up to date on content like this. Additionally, just like these folks, Planeswalkers, users, followers, all that jazz, if you would like to submit a deck, please don't hesitate to reach out to me in any one of those forums. Additionally, you can always email me as well. All right, Planeswalkers, so what do we have here? Well, let's go ahead and take a look because I am stoked about this top 1,000 deck today. So, my friends, we have a top 1,000 Orzhov Auras deck today. Now, just quickly here to cover a little bit of this story for you. This particular deck is by AphexTwin or AphexTwin. I'm probably killing that, but I'm going to go with Apex because it's easier for me to say right now. Many of you may know that I did have the opportunity to play AphexTwin a while back, so you guys can absolutely check out that video. They did beat me in a mirror match of the Cycles, which is a great deck. And was a lot of fun. So I'll link that one down below for you if you guys want to check that out also. But AphexTwin did take on a challenge. They absolutely loved the Mono White Auras deck. I've also heard many of you recently say thank you about that one as well. And AphexTwin took this, I'll say, 2 steps further. The first step was adding in the black here, or the swamp, and making it not only mono white, but into an Orzhov deck. So for those of you that are new, Orzhov is both black and white, or plains and swamp, giving us the Orzhov colors, which is a guild coming out of Ravnica. And then the Auras piece here is due to all the major pieces outside of the creatures being auras or enchantments as well. So that's the first piece. The second piece that Apex did is, as many of you know, in terms of top decks, I like to cover the top 1,500. Additionally, if they're unique, obviously, I also like doing mythic decks for you because I think a lot of us need 2 things. We need good competitive decks, and 2, a lot of us like to have fun and have a unique take on it and flavor as well. So Apex accepted a challenge in terms of making it to the top 1,500. So congratulations, Apex. They did that in a very fast manner and very quick one as well. And they brewed their own deck. So I think it's very important, as many of you know, that I always coach around adding in the flavors and the things that you find that work well. And so I'm very excited to share this story because I told them if you make it to top 1,500, I will absolutely cover your deck. And so here it is. And if any of you would also like to take up that challenge, please feel free to reach out. I'm always happy to do that as well. So back to the deck now. So for those of you that are new or returning, as always, this deck list is available for you down below in the description. There will be a link for you as well, so you can absolutely copy and paste that as well, or you can copy and paste the list right out of the description. So let's quickly look at what we got going on here. And then additionally, I will come back, talk a little bit about this deck. We'll go into the best of 3 for the sideboard. Obviously, this is the main board for best of 1 as well. And then I'll talk a little bit about how to swap. And then in Apex's own words, I would like to cover a couple things because I think it's really important. And additionally, I'm going to comment a little bit about the land and mana base because we don't actually talk about that a lot. And they have a lot of good feedback for you that I think would be very important to understand. And I think it's a very unique point of view that's really important as you consider some of your deck building capabilities and those things. So again, this is an Enchantment Auras deck. in the Orzhov flavor, so they expanded it on the mono white version. First off, we have Lurrus of the Dream Den here, a companion. So for those of you that are new or returning again, this creature has lifelink. The constraint is that each permanent card in our deck has converted mana cost 2 or less. So this is why we have the enchantments, everything under 2, mana curve under 2. But then the trade-off is during each of our turns, we may cast one permanent spell with converted mana cost 2 or less from our graveyard. So really pairs well in this deck. Lots of abilities to bring back creatures and bring back a lot of those auras as well. So first we have Elseed of Life's Bounty. This is really good in terms of the sacrifice, protection, color of choice. So the ability to dodge a lot of things, whether it's direct damage or just being targeted for things like fight cards with green. Lots of great opportunities. I think part of the coaching or the feedback and crucial tips here, particularly with this deck, as well as the mono white version that I mentioned, was you probably want to try and keep 1 mana open most of the time as well. Next, we got Karametra's Blessing. So this gives our target creature +2/+2 until end of turn. If it is enchanted, that creature also gains hexproof and indestructible until end of turn. We have Sentinel's Eyes, so this works really well because it has escape, and it's a very cheap escape nonetheless. But it gives our creature +1/+1 and has vigilance. Next, we have Solid Footing. So this card does a lot and catches a lot of people off guard. You flash this in, your creature gets +1/+1, and then as long as it's enchanted, as long as an enchanted creature has vigilance, it also assigns combat damage equal to its toughness rather than its power, which can be very powerful. Additionally, it feeds a lot of the other engines in this deck. Next, we got Speaker of the Heavens. This creature already has vigilance. It also has lifelink. However, if we get to 27 life, we can tap it and create a nice 4/4 flying angel, which is very powerful and gives us another unique way to attack into our opponents. Now we start to get into the black swamp piece of this deck. So many of you have maybe seen the mono black enchantments deck. I have not ran that one next, so this is a great segue into that when I do get around to showing that deck as well. But for starters, here Deadweight allows us to target a creature or enchant creature, giving them -2/-2. So this can either make them worse or it can kill them as well, which is perfect and plays well into our next card here, Hateful Eidolon. So this creature is a huge engine, and what I like about this deck particularly is the draw capabilities with this. So mono white can run out of gas to some extent if you're not stacking relatively quickly and getting lethal damage in fairly fast. Here we still get another option, so it pairs well with Deadweight when we remove creatures. Additionally, some of the other things here that we'll talk about in the deck in a second. However, one of the other keynotes that a lot of people miss, and this is kind of the pro tip and what I really like about this in this format, or this deck particular list, and additionally, one of the key things that you'll see here too is there is not as much removal. So when an enchanted creature dies, draw a card for each aura you control that was attached to it. A lot of people play this as the more aggressive deck where you're attaching it to your opponents, you're killing your opponents, and then you're drawing. However, in this case, if we sack our own creature or we have enchantments on top of our creatures and they die, we get a draw. So it's a replacement engine on the board for cards, which is huge value. And it's great to see it in this shell, and also again on the offensive side of things, not necessarily on the defensive, and allowing us to continue to put pressure and punish them. If they do remove that creature, we get to refill our hand, which is very important. Next, we got Mogus's Favor. So again, this can act as a twofold, either a additional threat or the ability to clear something off the board for us. And it's also got that lovely escape piece to it as well. Next, we have Ginger Brute. So I really like this card. One, not only because it has haste and we can go in right away, but it can't be blocked unless our opponent's creatures have haste. So a great ability for us to just do pass-through damage. And then additionally, if we do need that life, we can sacrifice it. And that plays well like Elseid's Bounty, like I just said with Hateful Eidolon as well. If we have to reset our board or we need to get card draws, these are two huge pieces that we can use with Hateful Eidolon on the board. And then obviously if you have Lurrus, you can continue to keep doing that engine as well, which is very, very important. Next, the payoff load card for this deck is absolutely this one right here, All That Glitters. So everything in this deck is going to feed All That Glitters. All our creatures do here, except for Speaker of the Heavens. Otherwise, they all fill it. And then again, any enchantment auras, everything stacks. So very, very important for us in terms of being able to do damage quickly and also get in with kind of our finishing touches. Then we have Heliod's Punishment here. So this one's a great card. The key pieces around this one is we can lock down our opponent's creatures. It's not necessarily a kill spell like something like a Deadweight or Mogus's Favor. And it stays on the board, which is again going to feed All That Glitters. So that's one of the big reasons that a lot of people play this card. Additionally, versus something like a Glass Casket, which is always a big argument, this will shut down big creatures. So this will really, really help you against things like the Gruul decks as well. And then, of course, we got Mire's Grasp. So another great card in terms of targeting creatures, shutting them down, and dealing damage. Very, very efficient main board deck here. I'm very, very excited to play this one today. And then additionally, again, we're running 22 lands, a little less aggressive in terms of best of one, probably pretty good in terms of best of 3 here. But I will come back to that because I told you to wait a moment because I do want to talk about some of that mana base as well. We do have Scries, we do have the modal lands, making this deck way, way more efficient. Again, tops out at 3 with Lurrus. So if you got questions, comments about the main board here, please feel free to let me know down below. We're going to go ahead now and look at the sideboard. So here we have Duress. So this is going to be pretty important for us in terms of any control decks, any board wipe decks. So that's going to be things that are going to be the 4-drop white or the 4-drop black cards with exile or board wipe. You're going to want to play these, get them out of their hands. Any of the Esper decks, this is going to work really well for you as well. So lots of places to play this. Now, if you're wondering, a decent sub as well for this, even though it's going to be a little bit more costly, I like being close, down low in terms of the mana curve and close to the board, could be Agonizing Remorse as well. As you kind of think about other things that you may want to play, that's going to help you get things out of the graveyard and work a little bit better against things like a Rakdos mid-range deck versus this. But again, this is much more aggressive, much more efficient on that mana curve. Next, we have Hushbringer. So this, I think I mentioned multiple times, is one of my favorite cards. When we saw the rise of a lot of the newer decks post-Omnath, this one is awesome. So first, it's flying and lifelink. Second, creatures entering the battlefield or dying don't cause triggers to cause abilities to trigger. So this is very important. It's going to shut down so many things. It's going to shut down Great Henge. It's going to shut down a multitude of things you may run into where creatures are entering the board. So this is great for the Azorius Yorion decks. Their bounce blink activation is not going to happen. It's going to shut down Yorion right in its tracks. So for all those Yorion decks, Yorion insert whatever you want, this is going to be your go-to. You're also going to want to play this against things like Mono Green Food, where their wolves are going to pop in, they're going to hit the board, and they're going to say, what the heck, I can't target anything. So lots of good things, lots of great sneaky opportunities here with this card. Again, a very, very nice one. Next, we got Mire's Grasp. So if we do run into a more aggro-based, creature-based deck, this is a great card to put in there. Again, for that removal, and that's where I would play it. So things like mono red, potentially mono green, any of the Gruul decks, those are all good ones. You could play it in the mirror match. You could play it in the mono white match. You could also play it in the mono black match, and both of those being the enchantment ones, to give you some more stability in terms of things on the board. Where I would not play this is against a lot of those control decks or some of those late game decks. You're going to want to really be quick out of the gate. This is also good against the rogues decks too. Duress could be good against the rogue decks. Next we got Skyclave Shade. So this card is awesome. Again, in terms of the mill decks, you're going to want to play this one so you'll quickly be able to pull something back in when you drop a land. A big component of this deck and where this thing can run into problems is if you don't have creatures. If you don't get creatures on the board, it's going to be a real problem. This gives us another out in terms of some of those mill decks that we'll probably run into. So I would run this against the Dimmer Mill, whether it's rogues or the typical landfall crab decks. This is going to be a good one for you to have in there. Or the other spot that you could play this is also going to be against Kroxa mid-range decks, just for the discard. Having things to pitch out of your hand and still gain value is going to be really useful. Next, we got Extinction Event. So I like that this one's in here. It's a little bit unique, but it gives us a little bit more of a go-wide strategy. So in the case of the Boros Knights deck that we just saw the other day, this is going to be a card that you're going to play. Any of the Mardu decks, anything running a lot of creatures, you may want to consider this for mono red, because typically we're going to drive a very narrow path in terms of options with our creatures. We're usually going to stack one or two, or if we go beyond one or two, those creatures like Elseed or potentially Hateful Eidolon, those kinds of things are really going to be support the main creature that we have on the board and trying to keep them alive and evade a lot of things. Extinction Event is going to give us an opportunity. If we're running into opponents that have a ton of creatures, you're going to want to play that and wipe the board. So, or it also allows you against things like the Trawler decks, the Jeskai decks, for late game to get things off the board that you're not necessarily going to be able to hit. So that is another really, really good opportunity and things to remember, because that's going to be really, really helpful in those parts. All right, Planeswalkers. So that is the sideboard. That is kind of how I think about these things and how you're going to want to do some of those options. So let's talk again here about kind of that aggro matchup, rogues-ish, the mid-range, and then the late game and how we would potentially sideboard. So it's in terms of the early game, I really like Mire's Grasp. I like Deadweight, particularly if they're creature-based decks. I would probably pull in Mire's Grasp here as well, and pull that one in. And what I would probably sideboard out is, as much as I like Solid Footing, I may drop two of these, and primarily that's because the real card here that really gains the most off that is really Hateful Eidolon. This used to pair really well with the 1/3 tap card that did unfortunately cycle out with rotation, but it's still very, very good to catch opponents off guard and plays into all that glitters. So that's kind of where I would maybe make a shift in terms of early game. The other one that I would maybe consider is actually bringing in Hushbringer and running a few less enchantments just to be safe. If they aren't running high in terms of creatures, I may drop Heliod's Punishment as well, and then I may drop a Speaker, and again, some Solid Footings there. I do like Gingerbrute better. Again, keeping that in here to feed all that glitters. You're mostly going to focus around that, but also at the same time providing some of that range in terms of bodies, and you could always go the Extinction Event as well. And let's look here. We do have 16 creatures, so if you do get it to like around 18 for some of the 18 to 20 for some of those, probably more so 18 for some of those aggro matches, it's just going to help you out a little bit better because they have the burn, they have the fight things, so you got to be a little bit more careful. And if they get things off the board, you're going to run into a little bit more problems. So that's kind of how I think through that. The mid-range games is going to depend on what creatures they're running. If you are running against something like a Kroxa Rakdos deck, you may want to consider Mire's Grasp. Duress is still going to be helpful. Extinction Event is going to be helpful. If they're not running a ton of creatures, again, you could get rid of things like Mire's Grasp, Deadweight. If they are, and you want to keep those in, you could absolutely, if you wanted to, I would look again at Solid Footing and maybe even Sentinel's Eyes, because if you're not getting milled, and I love Sentinel's Eyes because I like having something up But if you are able to keep LC'd up and get a lot of value in terms of the enchantments, you're not really going to have to worry about getting hit. In fact, it's probably going to be better that they attack in, because then it may leave them a little bit more open. So you do have that ability to gain life and also play a little bit more aggressively with the deck, because you do have those outs. And then again, in some of those early game rogue decks, I would put in Skyclave, Duress, like we talked about. And then last here for the late game, you're going to move in Duress, you're going to move in Extinction Event, you may want to put even in Skyclave, and then I would rotate out some of these direct kill deck cards there, so that gives you 5 spots to be aggressive, and that kind of will bring you home from that perspective. You may want to put Hushbringer in there, like we said, if it's a trigger based deck like Yorion's, which will get shut down, and just swap out. I would maybe swap out 2 speakers. Well, actually, maybe I'd keep a speaker. Maybe do 1 speaker, and then go with some of these guys as well. Whew. Big breath there, Planeswalkers. That's a lot of talking, but I think it's great in-depth pieces for this wonderful deck by AphexTwin. Just a couple of words verbatim here, because I think it's pretty important. We covered most of the sideboard, but just a couple notes again. Duress, again, is really for that control, number of them versus rogues. Hushbringers, Yorion the Foods decks, and you may want to side out the Eidolon for these as well. So that's a good point that I missed. Anytime that you're removing some of these kill decks, you may want to take care of the Hateful Eidolon. However, again, on that comment, remember that it still works in your favor if they do take off one of your creatures, so that could be a decision. Myra's Grasp, again, against aggressive decks. Extinction Events, maximizing against CC creatures, and then any other creature deck altogether, and then Skyclave Shade, as we mentioned, against rogues and mill. So that's their comments, AphexTwin's comments at a high level. But I do want to talk, as I mentioned, about something that I think is pretty important here, is really about those lands. So let me just find that note here for a second. Here we go. So 22 lands, 15 of them that you'll notice are actually untapped. So again, that has to deal with the Temple of Silence here at turn 1. And then we have 1 white source to constantly be able to drop at turn 1, and then 19 total to reach WW by turn 3, which I think is hitting the curve perfectly, and also pulling Luris out. So I might have misinterpreted that, but the black sources are at 12, and to consistently have a black source by turn 3. So the biggest takeaway I think here that's very important is just that curve. This deck is optimized around the mana base, particularly in best of 3, so that turn 3 you have everything that you need, whether it's white or black sources, and that is statistically verified as well. So thank you, AphexTwin, for that. And again, lots of things to consider, but very, very important. Hopefully that helps, Planeswalkers. Very, very excited about this. Again, congratulations on hitting, I think it was close to top 600. But again, really having a nice top 1,000 deck here for us today, and going down my path of challenge here to make it into the top 15. All right, Planeswalkers, let's go ahead. We're going to jump into some competitive Magic here with our Orzhov Auras deck. I'm very, very excited to play this one for you here today. So let's go ahead and find it in our best of 1. There we go. And we will get started right away here. If you got questions, comments, please let me know down below. Always happy to cover the deck list. And additionally, as always, before we decide if we're going to keep our hand against 4.7, not bad GPA, just want to say thank you. I appreciate your support. Please feel free to subscribe to the channel down over there. Additionally, if you like the video, please like it. You can also like me on Facebook and follow me on Twitter and Twitch. So right off the bat, we have a Yorion matchup, which is going to be hard for us, which is okay. So we do have a couple different things here. So I'm actually going to keep this because I got these 2 here, which is important. If we do get the Eidolon and we do get the Myra's Grasp, that's going to work. This is pretty risky, But in terms of best of one, this is a really tough matchup for us in general. But if we can get that black source, we're going to hold him to the turn 3 black source deal. If we can get that and get Eidolon on the board and get a couple of things of protection, we're going to be okay. Especially if we can get damage in right away. Now, the other thing is here, you can also aggressively mulligan a little bit more. I'm a little bit cautious about doing that with this particular deck. So that's a bummer. That one's going to hurt. So that's not going to help us off the bat, so we'll go there. Now, if they do hit Gingerbrute, we're going to be in trouble. If they don't, we're going to be okay. And AphexTwin's going to be in trouble if we don't get a black source here. We'll see. We'll have fun nonetheless. Oh, we didn't get it. That's alright. We have Mythras for protection. There we go. Now we got a source. We'll keep that one too. So here's where we'd have Hushbringer, because that would shut down a ton of stuff. If we can save for Elseed and get Hateful Eidolon on the next turn, we're going to be in a really good position in terms of being able to keep our board. Additionally, they're going to lose a lot of value here. And I'm keeping Eidolon first. I'm going to hold Elseed back. And I did that in the instance that for some reason they are able to kill Gingerbrute here. And the benefit is, if we are able to keep this up and they go for a board wipe, we're going to be just fine. If I get one more land, it'll be much better here too, because then I can get Elseed on the board. So that triggers still. There we go. So if they have another one, we're going to be in a little bit of a problem, but we'll see. There we go. When we do protection from white here, we're going to have an issue because that's going to get dropped. So we actually have to sack this and gain the 3. And then that should give us 2 draws. There we go. Now, if we can get what we need. We'll drop another ginger brute. So we're going to do this. Take the draw. And we still got some protection. If they have a board wipe, we're in trouble. But now we'll get 2 draws again. And we have ginger brew. And an all that glitters. So we may be able to get this. We may be able to get this. We'll see. If they have a counter here, we're in trouble. We'll drop grasp. Solid footing. All that glitters. Now we have Karametra's Blessing still, my friends. If they have a counter, we're in trouble. Boom! Epic. That was epic right there. Oh, we did it. We took down an Azorius Yorion blank deck with this awesome Orzhov enchantment deck. Very, very fun. Worked really, really well. Those draws on our turn with the Eidolon is clutch. Absolutely clutch. All right, let's go into our next match here. Whew. I'm sweating just from that one. That was a great, great match. Worked out well, played out well. We had enough things to play around. I felt like they just couldn't get the value that they wanted, and didn't work out. All right, opponent goes first. We got good plays here, so I'll keep it. We'll be aggressive. The only thing I don't like about playing this turn 1 is getting blown out here, which is going to be tricky, and not having 2 creatures. Alright, I can live with that. That I can live with. So the power's here. Play that one first. It's going to be all that glitters. So now they need 2 burn cards. Ooh, here we go. We're not going to give him that one. We'll play another All That Glitters. So now they're going to have a really hard time getting our guy off the board here. We got plenty of options. So, cleave. There you go. Still not enough. So here's what we do. We'll look. We'll keep that. We can do this. I'm debating on grasping their guy, which I think is the right play. So all we need to do next turn is we can drop L-Seed. Boom. Didn't even get there. Look at that. That is a beauty. Absolute beauty. AphexTwin, you've been holding out on us, my friend. All right. On to the next match here. And best of 3. Look at that. Nice. Another pack to add. All right. Traditional standard ranked. There's the top 1,000 dimmer control deck you guys should absolutely check out as well. All right, Planeswalkers, as always, I just want to say thank you. I appreciate your support. Please feel free to subscribe to the channel down over there. Additionally, like the video. If you like it, you can like me on Facebook and follow me on Twitter and Twitch as well. All right, Ordith it is. We will absolutely play first. I will keep. So Yorion deck. This is going to be a harder matchup. We'll see how it goes in best of 3. I'm already happy with the best of 1 results, so anything with best of 3 today is going to be icing on the cake for us. Ooh. So trick here that many of us forget. Now, if they hit me with a glass casket, I'm going to cry, but trick is here. If they're running Orzhov or Esper Doom, you can always sack the enchantment. So don't forget that. That is going to be really key. All right, we're okay. We are okay. So we're going to do this. I'm going to save solid footing. We're going to keep the 1 up. Do. We can make them bigger. 2 or less. That's gonna be good. We'll add that there. So as long as they don't have a kill spell here, to get L-Seed off, we're okay. If they drop a Doom, we're okay. If they have a casket, we're in trouble. Perfect. We are just fine. This is what everyone always forgets, so we need to sack the enchantment. So we'll sack Sentinel's Eyes, because we can. And we bring it back and show them how this works. Boom. We will take that. On to our next match. So this is a good one for a couple things here. This is going to be really good for duress. We don't need the Mire's Grasp. We don't need the Deadweight. I'm going to keep Hateful Eidolon here because I like that aggressiveness of being able to lose a creature and get the draws. So we got 4 here in terms of duress. I'm debating about bringing Skyclave Shade in as well. Karametra's Blessing isn't as good, unfortunately for us, against this matchup, I think. Actually, let's drop the Mogus Favor. We'll bring back that. And Heliod's Punishment we don't quite need either. All right, so here's what we're going to do. That's the mix we're going to play. A little bit more creatures, which I like. Enchantments, we're not going to worry about killing their guys, which is fine. This one's not bad, though. We can put it on our guy and make it a little bit better. And it does have escape. Let's keep that. We'll drop a Mythras. There we go. All right. Let's do it. Let's bring this home. Bring this bad boy home today. Ordith it is. So let's see if our duresses pull some things out for us. And we did that without Black Source. That was just our mono-white version of the deck. I don't even know we're running swamps. This could be a whole new deck for them. Here we go. Perfect. I like it. We'll keep this. It's a great start for us. Yeah, you might want to get rid of that duress. Good choice. Good choice. And we're actually going to do Hateful Eidolon first. So we need to figure out how we want to move here. So we're going to enchant this one first. They're not going to be able to hit 2. So remember, we can keep sacking and keep bringing things back. What's the kick? 5 on that? We'll keep getting the life. Next turn we'll bring Lurrus back. Because then we got protection with Elseed. Don't have our second Black Source though. So if they have a second extinction event, we're going to be in trouble. I bet they do. So we'll see. Yep. There it is. That's how I would have played it. So we're actually gonna do this. And now we can do this. Go 1, 2. We're gonna do that so we can get our flyers next turn. Oh, shoot. If we would have had that on there, we would have been okay. That's too bad. Double Yorion. And we're gonna kick. And we'll make a little bit bigger. So we're gonna have to bring in our Hushbringers here. So trying to go a little bit more aggressive because we did just fine that first match. They've gotten smarter with the kill spells and some of these other things. This can be a harder matchup for us now. Because it's all top deck. Doesn't mean we can't come back though. Ooh. Could have blocked just to get the life. Alright, we're gonna go into the next match. So we are going to pull in the Hushbringers. We're gonna drop the Skyclave Shades. Keep the Duress. Grab another Karametra's Blessing. Drop the Mogus Favor. Well, I like that one. We'll keep that. How many creatures do we have? 20. The flyers are nice. They're not gonna sit on the same. What drop? Let's drop 2 of those. We'll drop 1 Ginger Brute. We'll go 4 Hushbringers. All right, match 3. Whew. We'll play first. Here we go. Here we go. Speaker into all that glitters, I think. Because then they can't hit us with anything easily off the bat. Ooh, or we could go with that. I think that goes next turn anyway. Uh-oh. Oops. Oh, I clicked too fast. Whoops. That's going to cost me the game right there. That will definitely cost me the game. I meant to do something else. That's what I wanted to get rid of. We would have been at 5. So Doom Foretold is going to backfire on them. But we'll take it. If they play it. So we can't add anything here, because what's going to happen is they're going to play that anyway. So I don't know why they did that. That's why. That makes sense. Okay. I was thinking about the blank. That's not how I would have played that. And just to get a discard out of me. That is not how I would play that. Don't have a choice. We're hurting on the lands. Hurting on the lands. Oh, they went with the tomb. There you go. Yeah, I didn't have a choice. We're gonna be in trouble now. And I don't have anything I can play. Nothing I could have flashed in. If we would have had that in our graveyard, we could have did it. Oh, should have went with the blessing. We're in trouble. That was my one out. One out. Ouch. Ouch, 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 ouch. How many of those guys we got left? We got one. I will give it 2 more draws. If we do not get a creature, we are done. Absolutely done. But I did misplay there. I probably could have kept him on the board a little bit longer. Should have thought about it. I think that's a good game. We're going to concede, call it a day. Planeswalkers, great matches. We blew through the best of 1. Unfortunately, we went 1 and 2 in the best of 3. Off to a strong start. Bad finish on my end. Definitely probably a couple misplays. Could have helped if we would have got a little bit more land there. But that is Magic, and that is how it goes. So let's go ahead and take a look at the deck again. Thank you, AphexTwin. Really enjoyed this one. Very versatile, very fun. It does a great job nonetheless. So quickly here, Planeswalkers, here's the deck list again for you. It is available down below in the description, so you have access to it right away. Additionally, the link is down there for the list. If you have questions or comments, please let me know. Happy to help. I think you guys got to see a lot of the different engines. We heard from Apex what works, what doesn't. We played really tough matchups against the Yorion decks. We were successful in the best of 1, almost successful in the best of 3. Beat a mono red deck down nicely in the best of 1 as well. So this deck's got a lot of juice to it, a lot of options. And lastly, Planeswalkers, as always, I just want to say thank you. I appreciate your support. Please feel free to subscribe to the channel down over there. Additionally, if you like the video, go ahead and like it. You can also like me on Facebook, follow me on Twitter and Twitch, stay up to date on content like this. Additionally, if you got decks that you enjoy, they're top 1500, feel free to shoot them my way. I love spotlighting your content. It's really nice to be able to do these things. Lastly, again, congratulations, Apex, for hitting the top 1500, hitting Mythic, and also obviously making almost the top 500 with this deck. Very awesome. Glad to see you do these kinds of things with your own crafts and feeding off of a lot of the stuff that we cover here. So thank you for that, and thank you for sharing with us. Planeswalkers, you stay safe. We'll see you again soon. Stay tuned for a lot of new content coming your way. Tier lists, top decks, user submitted decks. I'm going to be creating more new player content when I get some time. Lots of things available for you coming your way. So stay tuned, stay safe. We'll see you again. Take care. Mythras out.